My friend, when God begins to move you, He does not merely shift your circumstances, He awakens your soul. Movement in the kingdom is not just about going somewhere, it is about becoming someone. When God stirs your life, it's not chaos, it's construction. He is not just taking you from something, He is taking you towards something greater, but not everyone can come with you. There will be a sign, a moment, a shift, a painful clarity that reveals not only your next step, but also who is no longer meant to take it with you. God is not cruel when He calls you to release someone. He is merciful, because the company you keep can either protect your purpose or poison it. Some companions are only equipped for your past, not your future. Nay, and when He moves you, their presence will no longer feel aligned, no matter how long they've walked beside you. When the Spirit of God begins to lift you higher, those not anchored in His will for your life will not understand your elevation. They will call it arrogance when it is actually obedience. They will call it distance when it is actually destiny. Here is the sign. The ones meant to go with you will not compete with your calling, question your growth, or shrink in the face of your transformation. They will recognize the hand of God on you, and instead of resisting, they will rejoice. Instead of doubting, they will pray. Instead of holding on, they will bless your going. So do not fear the letting go. It is not loss, it is clarity. It is not abandonment, it is alignment. You are not being punished, you are being purified. And when you obey, when you move as God moves you, the right people will rise beside you, not because you begged them, but because God built them for this part of your journey. Go boldly. The wind that stirs your sails is not random, it is divine. And if God is the one moving you, then wherever He is leading, even if you go alone, you will arrive full. When God moves you, He's not just relocating you, He's reassigning your purpose. This truth is often misunderstood because the world measures movement by physical distance, career shifts, or external transitions. But when God initiates a move, it is rarely just about geography or material changes. His movement begins in the soul, in the unseen places where identity, calling, and destiny are forged. You may find yourself in the same town, same room, or same role, yet completely transformed internally because He has reassigned you spiritually. When this happens, the outward signs will soon follow, but the real shift has already taken place where no one else may see it. It is the silent thunder of divine intention shaking your inner world. This type of movement often comes with discomfort. You feel a restlessness that is difficult to explain. What once satisfied now seems hollow. Conversations you used to enjoy now feel heavy with disconnection. Goals you once chased feel shallow, like shadows of someone else's dream. It is not that your life is falling apart. It is that your assignment is being redefined. God is not abandoning your past. He is evolving your future. The call of God rarely announces itself with clarity. It emerges, slowly, deliberately, like dawn inching over the edge of night. And when it does, it marks the beginning of a new spiritual posture, one where obedience outweighs comfort and faith replaces familiarity. You see, we often ask God to bless our steps, but sometimes He doesn't answer by blessing the road we're on. Instead, He reroutes us. He doesn't just endorse our journey, He interrupts it. He doesn't just refine our path, He resets it. This is because divine purpose is not a reward for good behavior. It's a mission rooted in eternal wisdom. God knows who you are becoming, even when you don't. He sees what you will carry, even when your hands feel empty now. And when He begins to move you, He's not reacting to your situation. He's unfolding a design that was written long before you ever breathed your first breath. God's movement is never random. It is intentional, even when it feels inconvenient. You may be wondering why certain doors are closing, why certain people are walking away, why certain plans are crumbling. It could be that God is not just moving you away from something, but calling you into something deeper, something more refined, something that requires a new posture of heart, a sharper sense of discernment, and a clearer trust in His voice. Your new assignment may not make sense at first. It may seem smaller, quieter, or even backward to others, but obedience to God has never depended on the applause of the crowd. This movement may require that you lay down things you once held tightly. You might be called to release control, surrender your timeline, or walk away from platforms you thought were your destination. But remember, God is not removing your opportunities. He is restoring your clarity. He is not taking from you. He is preparing you to carry something you couldn't handle before. What feels like loss may actually be space being created for a deeper purpose to emerge. And when that purpose reveals itself, you will not be the same. You will have grown in the secret places where few noticed but heaven rejoiced. One of the greatest misunderstandings about spiritual movement is that it should always be upward or forward in human terms. But in the kingdom, movement is often downward first, into humility, into dependence, into deeper trust. Only then does God elevate you. And when He does, it is not just a new place you're stepping into, it's a new identity. You are no longer just who you were. You are who He is shaping you to be. That shaping is painful at times. It costs relationships, pride, and certainty, but it births something eternal, something unshakable, something only heaven could commission. So if you feel God moving you, do not resist the process, embrace it. Lean into the confusion with faith, into the unknown with worship, into the silence with expectancy. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. You are not being forgotten, you are being refined. God does not move His children aimlessly. If He is shifting you, He is also sending you with new authority, new discernment, and a purpose that matches the weight of your calling. When God moves you, it is not a detour, it is destiny unfolding, and you will never be the same. The sign that reveals who's meant to go with you is alignment, not attachment. So often, we confuse history with destiny. We believe that just because someone has been part of our past, they automatically deserve a place in our future. But when God begins to move you, the distinction becomes clear. Not everyone who was connected to your last season is aligned with your next one. Attachment is built on comfort, routine, shared memories, and emotional ties. It's natural, human, and at times deeply sentimental. But alignment is something far greater. Alignment is when another person's presence actively supports your calling, encourages your obedience, and harmonizes with the direction God is taking you. The two are not the same. Many people can be attached to you for who you were. They may love your old self, your familiar patterns, your former dreams, the version of you that was content staying in one place. But the moment you begin to grow, to evolve, to rise in purpose and obedience, you'll notice a subtle shift. Conversations change. Energy shifts. Suddenly, your growth feels like a threat instead of a victory. Why? Because attachment clings to who you used to be, while alignment celebrates who you're becoming. When someone is aligned with your purpose, they will not feel insecure about your transformation. They will not resist the journey God is taking you on. Instead, they will walk with you, pray for you, and sometimes even step back willingly if that's what obedience requires. God often reveals misalignment through discomfort. It's the tension you feel in certain relationships as your heart starts to move in a direction your environment does not support. It's the friction in conversations where your spirit feels out of sync with people who once understood you. It's the quiet realization that you're not speaking the same spiritual language anymore, even if your words sound familiar. This is not a signal to despise anyone or cast blame. It is simply a holy alert, a divine indication that your current elevation demands clearer alignment. And clarity, while often uncomfortable, is a gift from God. It frees you to walk in authenticity and surround yourself with those who are truly assigned to this season. It's crucial to understand that alignment is not about convenience or even agreement in all things. It's about resonance. When someone is aligned with you, there is a spiritual resonance between your calling and theirs. They don't need to be on the exact same path, but they do need to walk in harmony with God's movement in your life. Aligned people sharpen your faith, not dull it. They challenge your spirit, not flatter your ego. They see the deeper layers of your purpose, not just the surface of your success. And when God begins to reposition you, those who are aligned will adjust, adapt, or release without resentment, because their loyalty is not to proximity, it's to purpose. It's to purpose. A bit fair. The heartbreaking truth is that some people are deeply attached to you, but completely misaligned with your calling. They may care for you, support you in worldly ways, and wish the best for you, but they are not equipped to carry what God is placing on your life. Trying to take everyone with you may feel noble, but it becomes a burden when you're dragging those who were never meant to go. God's assignments are often weighty, and unnecessary attachments can slow your pace, distort your vision, or drain your spiritual energy. You cannot run at full speed when you are constantly stopping to convince someone to understand a path they were never called to walk. This is why discernment is essential in every season of movement. Before you cling to relationships out of loyalty, pause and ask, is this person aligned with my purpose or simply attached to my presence? Are they celebrating my obedience to God or feeling uncomfortable with my transformation? Do they nourish my spirit or just feed my familiarity? These questions are not cruel, they are necessary, because obedience to God sometimes means disappointing people. But delaying God's plan to keep others comfortable is a far more dangerous sacrifice. When you finally surrender to the truth that alignment matters more than attachment, a new peace enters your life. You stop forcing relationships that no longer fit. You stop apologizing for growing. You stop shrinking yourself to maintain false harmony. And most importantly, you begin to recognize the people who are truly sent by God, not just to walk with you, but to help carry the weight of your calling. They may be few, but they are enough. For when God moves you, He also surrounds you with those who were never just connected to your past. They were built for your future. Some relationships expire when your spiritual season changes, and that's okay. This truth can be difficult to accept because we are wired to value loyalty, longevity, and emotional bonds. When we walk with someone for years, share laughter, tears, milestones, and even prayers, we believe that such a connection should last forever. But in the realm of spiritual growth and divine purpose, not all relationships are meant to be permanent. Some are seasonal, assigned by God to serve a purpose during a specific time in your life. When that purpose is fulfilled and your season changes, so too must your relationships. The end of a connection does not mean it was fake or fruitless. It simply means it had a divine expiration date. God moves in seasons, and each spiritual season demands something different from us: new habits, deeper faith, clearer focus, and refined relationships. A shift in your spiritual atmosphere often means your soul begins to hunger for different conversations, new environments, and greater levels of accountability. You begin to crave depth over comfort, truth over flattery, conviction over convenience. This is not pride or disloyalty, it is spiritual maturity. As you evolve, some relationships that once brought you peace may begin to feel stagnant. Where there was once harmony, there is now tension. Where there was mutual understanding, there is now misunderstanding. This is not because you've become superior or they've become less. It's because your spiritual frequency is no longer in sync. Letting go of expired relationships is not easy. It can feel like betrayal. It can look like coldness. But in reality, it is obedience. When God is calling you to a higher level, He often prunes your life. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to bear more fruit, and pruning is painful. It involves removing branches that once looked strong, but are now draining resources from new growth. The same principle applies to relationships. Holding on to what no longer fits your calling creates emotional clutter and spiritual confusion. It slows your momentum and clouds your clarity. You can't fully embrace the new if you're still gripping tightly to the old. There is a temptation to hold on to relationships out of guilt or fear. We worry that letting go makes us ungrateful or unloving, but true love doesn't cling. It releases when God says move. True faith doesn't fear loneliness. It trusts that divine connections will be made in due time. When a relationship no longer aligns with where God is leading you, staying in it can become a form of disobedience. And disobedience, even when dressed in the clothes of loyalty, still distances us from the fullness of God's will. Sometimes, God allows relationships to end not because either party did something wrong, but because the assignment is complete. The connection served its purpose. It taught you, shaped you, supported you, or even wounded you in a way that drove you deeper into God. And now, the season has shifted. The lesson has been learned. The purpose has been fulfilled. Trying to resurrect what God has released will only lead to frustration. You can honor someone's place in your past while also accepting that they have no role in your future. Maturity is being able to bless what was while not forcing it to remain. What you must remember is that God never subtracts without intention. When He removes, He replaces. When He ends, He restores. Sometimes He isolates you so He can reintroduce you to your true self, your purpose, your voice, your mission. And in that space of seeming relational loss, He sends people who are tailored to your future. These new connections may come quietly. They may not look or sound like those you've known before, but you'll feel the alignment, the spiritual resonance, the peace that comes when someone is assigned to your now, not your then. So grieve if you must, but do not cling. Mourn the memories, but do not stall your movement. The ending of a relationship is not the ending of your story. In fact, it might be the beginning of your breakthrough. God is not asking you to forget people. He is asking you to follow Him. And sometimes following Him means walking a path that fewer people understand. Trust that the ones meant for your journey will find their way beside you, not because you begged them to stay, but because they were destined to remain. Let go. Let God. Let God. Your new season is waiting. Elevation exposes hearts. Those who celebrate you are meant to climb with you. When God begins to elevate your life, whether spiritually, emotionally, or even in visible ways, such as influence or opportunities, something very revealing starts to happen. It is not merely about doors opening or blessings arriving. It is about how the people around you respond to what God is doing in you. Elevation is not only a promotion from God, it is also a test for your circle. It shines a light on motives, intentions, and the true posture of people's hearts. It is in your rise that hidden jealousy surfaces, quiet resentments emerge, and once warm smiles grow cold. But it is also when genuine love, loyalty, and spiritual alignment become unmistakably clear. People often say they want the best for you. They pray for your breakthrough, encourage your dreams, and walk beside you in the valley. But when the mountaintop arrives, when God starts to visibly favor your steps, not everyone will have the capacity to celebrate with you. This doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from their own unhealed pain, insecurity, or unmet expectations. Still, your elevation will expose whether their support was rooted in genuine alignment or in silent competition. Some people are comfortable when you're struggling because it makes them feel needed or superior. But when your light begins to shine brighter, when your voice begins to carry weight, when your purpose begins to take shape, the truth begins to unfold. And that truth can be difficult to face. You must learn not to fear this exposure. It is not meant to harm you, but to protect you. God allows elevation not just to position you higher, but to purify your surroundings. Those who cannot celebrate you in your rising are not equipped to sustain you in your reigning. Their silence when they should be clapping, their distance when they should be drawing closer, their criticism masked as concern, these are signs not of hatred, but of misalignment. And it is better to face this truth early than to carry the wrong people into a place God never intended them to go. There is a sacredness to elevation. With it comes new battles, greater responsibilities, and deeper spiritual warfare. You cannot afford to be surrounded by those who secretly resent your growth. The people who climb with you must have pure hearts and clean hands. They must be people who are not intimidated by your calling, but inspired by it. People who don't compete with you, but complement you. People who don't need you to shrink so they can shine. These are the people who will rejoice when you rejoice, pray when you're weary, and protect your name when you're not in the room. They may not be loud, but their loyalty is undeniable, and you'll recognize them not just by their words, but by their consistency, humility, and joy in your elevation. It is important to note that celebrating someone else's rise does not mean agreeing with everything they do. It means being secure enough in your own walk with God to recognize when He is moving in someone else's life. True friends, true brothers and sisters in Christ will not only cheer for you, but intercede for you. They understand that your success is not a threat to theirs, but a testimony of what God can do. In fact, when God elevates someone in your circle, it is a sign of His presence among you. It is an invitation to witness, to learn, to grow together, not to divide or become bitter. When you are elevated, do not become defensive about the reactions of others. Observe, discern, but do not retaliate. Let your spirit remain gentle. Let your focus remain on God. Those who are meant to be with you will stay joyfully, faithfully, and willingly. And those who fall away were never truly climbing, only clinging. You owe no one an apology for the favor of God on your life, but you do owe God your obedience to let Him refine your circle. So if you feel isolated in your elevation, take heart. You are not alone, you are being aligned, and in time you will look around and see that the ones who are still standing with you are the ones who were always meant to climb, not because of what you had, but because of who you were becoming. Elevation doesn't just change your level, it reveals your people. Letting go of the wrong people is a holy step toward becoming who you truly are. It is one of the most difficult, heart-wrenching, and sacred actions a person can take on the journey toward purpose. The people we surround ourselves with shape our thoughts, influence our direction, and often become mirrors in which we see ourselves. But not every person in your life is meant to walk with you forever. Some were only assigned for a chapter, and when their time ends, clinging to them does not preserve the story, it distorts it. There is something profoundly spiritual about release, something that reflects trust in God more than loyalty to people. Letting go is not failure. It is not bitterness. It is surrender to a higher wisdom that sees what you cannot. When God is calling you into a deeper place, into your true identity, into the fullness of your purpose, He will begin to separate you from anything and anyone that hinders that process. This separation often starts subtly through misalignment in values, tension in communication, or growing silence between hearts that once beat in sync. We often resist this shift because of emotional ties, shared history, or the fear of loneliness. But if you try to bring everyone with you into a season that was designed for just you and God, you will end up weighed down by expectations that do not match your destiny. The path to becoming who you truly are requires space, clarity, and peace. 3 things that are impossible when the wrong people are occupying the room where growth was meant to happen. The wrong people are not always bad people. Sometimes they are simply no longer right for the direction your life is taking. They may have served a purpose in your past, supported you during a season of struggle, or even helped you hear God more clearly for a time. But if their presence now distracts, discourages, or derails your spirit, it is not cruelty to walk away, it is obedience. Holding on out of guilt or obligation only prolongs the discomfort God is using to show you the truth. Every step you take toward purpose requires a shedding of the unnecessary. Just as a tree sheds leaves that no longer serve it, you too must release what cannot grow with you. Letting go requires courage. It means facing the reality that not all relationships are meant to be permanent. It means choosing peace over familiarity and purpose over popularity. It means trusting that what God has ahead is worth more than what you are afraid to lose. And yes, it means grieving. You will grieve the memories, the dreams you once shared, and the comfort of what once felt like forever. But grieving is not a sign you made the wrong decision. It is a sign you cared deeply. It is the cost of transition, not a signal to reverse it. There is a unique kind of healing that comes after release. When you remove the voices that kept you small, the weight that kept you tired, and the ties that kept you stuck, you begin to hear God more clearly. You begin to see yourself not as others defined you, but as He designed you. You start making decisions based on your convictions rather than the fear of how others will react. You walk lighter, you dream bigger, you become more honest. This is what becoming truly you looks like. It's messy, quiet, and full of moments where it feels like everything is falling apart. But in truth, everything is falling into place. Letting go does not mean you stop loving people. It means you stop allowing them to interrupt the voice of God in your life. You bless them, release them, and entrust them to His care. You do not carry bitterness. You carry discernment. And in doing so, you make space for the right people to come, those who will not only walk beside you but speak life into your destiny. You make room for peace, for clarity, and most of all, for transformation. Because until you let go of the wrong people, you can't fully receive the ones who were meant to stay. The greatest freedom you'll ever experience is not in arriving at your destination, but in knowing you didn't compromise who you were becoming to keep others comfortable. Letting go is not abandonment, it is alignment. It is trusting God enough to believe that becoming who He created you to be is worth every tear, every goodbye, and every brave step forward. Divine movement requires courage, clarity, and complete trust in God's plan. When God begins to move in your life, the journey that unfolds will not always come with signs and explanations. More often, it begins with a whisper, a stirring in the soul, a gentle discomfort with what once felt normal. There is no blueprint, no clear map, only a persistent nudge from the Spirit telling you, it's time. And in that moment, your response becomes everything. This is where courage is born, not the kind that shows up in grand gestures or public declarations, but the quiet kind that says yes in the dark, yes when you're afraid, yes when you're uncertain. God's movement demands that you step out before the path is fully lit, that you believe without full understanding, that you follow without guarantees of ease or affirmation. Courage is necessary because divine movement is rarely convenient. It will often disrupt your plans, interfere with your comfort, and even challenge your relationships. It will ask you to leave the familiar and step into the unknown. You will be required to make decisions that don't make sense to others, sometimes not even to yourself. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the resolve to move forward despite it. It is the ability to say, even if I'm scared, even if I don't have it all figured out, I will follow God's voice. That kind of courage doesn't come from self-confidence. It comes from a deep-rooted trust that God's plan is better than yours, even if it doesn't look like it right now. But courage alone is not enough. You also need clarity. Clarity doesn't mean you'll always know the end result, but it does mean you must be clear on who is leading you. If you don't know God's voice, every other voice will confuse you. In seasons of divine movement, distractions multiply. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has advice, and everyone wants to weigh in. If you're not grounded in the presence of God, you will mistake noise for direction. Clarity comes from communion, from stillness, prayer, scripture, and intimate time with the one who's calling you forward. It's in those quiet moments that your soul finds the guidance it needs, not through formulas, but through faith. Clarity is what helps you discern the difference between a good opportunity and a God opportunity. It is the inner knowing that keeps you from chasing approval or running ahead of His timing. Complete trust is the anchor that holds everything together. It is the foundation of your courage and the guardian of your clarity. 4. Trusting God's plan means accepting that you won't always get a preview of what's next. It means being okay with delayed answers, closed doors, and divine redirections. It means not needing to control the outcome, but resting in the fact that God already has. You will not always feel confident on this journey. There will be moments when doubt whispers louder than faith. There will be seasons where you feel like nothing is happening, where your prayers seem unanswered and your steps feel shaky. But trust isn't based on what you see, it's based on who you know God to be. He is faithful, and He has not brought you this far to leave you in confusion. God's movement will not always be fast or flashy. Sometimes it will look like stillness, waiting, or even stepping backward in the world's eyes. But movement in the kingdom is not measured by speed. It is measured by surrender. The most significant shifts in your life will happen not when you fight for control, but when you finally release it. When you say, God, I don't understand this, but I trust you. That is when doors open that you could never force, relationships align that you could never orchestrate, and strength emerges that you never knew you had. Trust is the soil in which transformation grows. It is the environment where miracles take root. So if God is moving you into a new place, a new season, a new mindset, respond with courage, seek clarity, and walk with trust. You don't have to know it all. You just have to follow the one who does. And in the end, you'll find that every step you took in faith was not a risk, it was a revelation. A revelation of who God is, who you are, and how beautiful life becomes when you choose to move in sync with heaven's rhythm.